Everyone is well. Yeah, Councilor O'Malley was saying how they were having the flag raising. He usually has a big ceremony with steppers and all kinds of stuff going on. But
Well, we went down and put it up on Congress Street in the back of the building.
yeah, he
We had
says,
a small flag. If you put it out on the front, you have to have a bigger flag. So we'll have to see about that, won't we?
look at it. I think that's definitely a budget item for 2021, don't you think?
Put that on my agenda. Appropriate some money for a bigger flag.
Right.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. Well, that's been his tradition to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, and it's nice. Hopefully.
How's everyone?
Good.
Y'all connected?
Hmm?
Y'all connected?
Yep. Oh,
¿Cuántos años? Pero es un micrófono.
Hey, Mike. Thanks, Mike.
So we're checking in, see who's here. Baker, Bach, Asabi George, Flaherty, O'Malley, and Wu. Looking for those folks. Edwards, I got you. Who I have is Flynn, Arroyo, Braden, Campbell, Edwards, and Mejia. I'm looking for Wu, O'Malley, Flaherty, Asabi George, Bach, and Baker.
Madam Clerk and Madam President, I like both of your jackets. They look really nice.
Thank you. Oh, and Wu is getting on now.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Michelle.
How are you? Thank you. Sorry, George. So anyone know where Baker, Bach, Flaherty, or O'Malley are?
Hi, Madam President. They might be downstairs on the flag.
raising?
No, we're all back up again. We're not, yeah, I don't know.
I was trying to report the student correctly.
No,
Okay,
you're good. Thanks.
okay.
O'Malley is here. So Flaherty, Baker, and Bach. And want to give Baker a chance because I believe he is introducing the clergy today. So hopefully he will be joining us soon.
Hey, Maureen.
We're twins.
Well, I heard Flynn make that comment, so I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna be the only one. So I went and got this, but I put this jacket on.
Good move. That definitely gets you brownie points for sure.
I heard, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Maureen, you and I always have a fashion show off here, you and I.
You look great, Julia.
Hey,
I have to tell you, you look much better than I do.
so we're rocking our green up in here, so
That's it.
thank
That's
you for
it.
that. Where's your green, Flaherty? You got your, Flynn, I see your
Green tie.
I got a tie, yeah.
Oh, I see O'Malley up in here, his little green tie too.
And did you see wonderful Councilor Braden with her
No.
mask and her shamrocks? She's like good to go.
Okay, let me go to the side by side so I can see everybody. Oh, I see you.
Yeah, she outdid us all. She outdid us all.
You sure did.
No, I get the contest. No, I got I'm a
Edwards.
up in here. This is all about Charlestown representing, right?
Oh my God, that's great. And you know what? You know what the best part is you really are a townie and they love
Yes.
you.
That, okay?
Oh, awesome.
That's it. Lydia, hands down, she won. All of y'all.
Not you win, sorry.
It's the day and the moment. It's all about the timing, the fashion.
Lydia, Councilman
Yes.
Edwards won. That's it.
I didn't wear my Irish rugby shirt today, so
It's not too late.
I'll do that later with my pint of Guinness.
Okay.
There's no town like Charlestown.
Just can't hide that townie pride.
I know.
Yes.
So just checked in with Councilor Baker. He is about 2 minutes away. Want to give him a chance to join because he is introducing the clergy today. And don't want to start late. don't want to start without him. It looks like we will be starting a few minutes late. Don't want to start without Frank.
Let me take this time to thank everybody for coming to the flag raising, and apologies. I know, Madam President, you were out there. It was the Congress Street side, so you were with us in spirit. But thank you for coming. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. It was
Thank
a
you. I'm
very
sorry to have
somber,
missed
quick.
it.
No, it's a somber, quick little ceremony. It's great to see everybody in person. It's been too long.
Carrie? How are we doing in terms of everything else? Are we good to go when Frank joins?
I'm ready to go when you are, Madam President.
Okay, wonderful. So as soon as Counselor Baker joins, we will get started.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And Reverend, so wonderful to see you.
Well,
Oh,
thank you. Thank you. It's a delight to be,
Oh.
to see you all again.
well, you and the beautiful parish of All Saints. Oh my God. The work you guys do is just amazing.
Thank you, Marie. It's,
Bottom of my heart. So,
And Nissa got her little green on too. I see you, Anissa. Okay.
we're having a contest for
I
who
know.
has the most green.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep this on then.
You
I
win
win
this.
first prize. I know.
Right, you win.
And Liz has the accent, so I think she gets more.
Okay, she
I
wins.
was gonna say,
Hands down.
I don't think any member of this council is in a position to out Irish Liz.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right about that.
So I think we can
Oh.
concede that point.
Counselor Baker is here. Counselor Baker, are you all set?
Oh, look at Arroyo.
You're on mute. Let me just, give me the thumbs up when you're good. You all set?
Okay, I'm good. I was looking for my speaking pen.
Okay, I think we're good to go.
We are, thank you. I apologize, Madam Chair.
No worries, no worries. We'll get started right now. Everyone ready? Madam Clerk, are you all set?
I am.
Wonderful, great. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Nice seeing all this lovely green. My name is Kim Janey, and I'm president of the Boston City Council. In accordance with Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 executive order modifying certain requirements of the open meeting law, the Boston City Council is conducting this meeting virtually. Viewers can watch live by going to YouTube and visiting boston.gov/city-council-tv. At this time, I will call upon our clerk to do the roll call to ascertain the presence of a quorum. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilor Arroyo,
Present.
Councilor Baker,
Here,
Councilor Bach,
Present.
Councilor Braden,
Yes.
Councilor Campbell,
Here.
Councilor Edwards,
Present.
Councilor Asabi George,
Present.
Councilor Flaherty.
Yep.
Councilor Flaherty, Councilor Flynn,
Here,
Councilor Janey,
Present.
Councilor Mejia,
Present.
Councilor O'Malley,
Present?
and Councilor Wu.
Present.
Madam President, we have all present.
Thank you so much. I've been informed by our clerk that a quorum is present. We will begin this meeting with the invocation, and I'm going to call upon Councilor Baker to introduce our clergy today. Thank you so much for being here. Councilor Baker, you have the floor.
thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. I was looking for some green. Everything that I own is blue. I hope that's not I hope that doesn't mean that's my state of mind for the next whatever. But happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. And I'd like to welcome Reverend Michael Godertz from the All Saints Church in Peabody Square in Ashmont neighborhood of Dorchester, where he's been since 1998. Before coming to All Saints, Reverend Godertz was a rector at St. Bride's Episcopal Church in Chesapeake, Virginia from 1991 through 1998. And he was also the rector at St. Barnabas Church in Norwich, Vermont from 86 to 91. He served as curate at Church of the Advent in Boston from 84 to 86. And prior to ordination, he worked at several publishing houses as a lay pastoral assistant at the Church of the Good Shepherd in Reading, Massachusetts. Reverend Godertz received his Bachelor in Arts in History at Rutgers University, a Master's of Divinity from Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary, and a Master of History from the University of Chicago. An active member of the Society of the Holy Cross for 25 years, Reverend Godertz is presently the Master of the Province of the Americas. Reverend Godertz lives with his wife, Ruth, and the Reverend is also very generous with the space at All Saints Church in Ashmont, whether it be for voting, AA meetings, or community meeting, there's always room. With that, Reverend, thank you much, and thank you very much, and thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you very much, Counselor. Let's pray, brothers and sisters. Heavenly Father, we come before you this day to ask for your blessing. You know our troubles, the disease that haunts us, the divisions which separate us from one another. Too many have died, too many are sick, too many are alienated, too many are oppressed. Our hearts ache. We thank you for prospering the labors of those who seek a cure for this plague, and for those who selflessly serve their brothers and sisters, whether on the front lines or in the many unseen yet essential jobs on which we all depend. We ask that as we gather this day, you would give guidance and wisdom to this council in its deliberations, that there may be benefit to all the people of this city. For we ask this all in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Reverend, for that inspiring word. At this time, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. You are welcome to stay on for as long as you like, or leave at your leisure after the pledge. Thank you so much. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
nation,
under God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you again. Now we will move on to the first order of business, which is the approval of the minutes. Seeing and hearing no discussion, the chair moves to approve the minutes from the last meeting as presented. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Approval of the minutes. Councilor Arroyo. Councilor Arroyo. Councilor Baker.
Yes.
Councilor Baker, yes. Councilor Bach.
Yes.
Councilor Bach, yes. Councilor Braden.
Yes.
Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Campbell.
Yes.
Councilor Campbell, yes. Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Councilor Edwards, yes. Councilor Asabi George.
Yes.
Councilor Asabi George, yes. Councilor Flaherty.
Yes.
Councilor Flaherty, yes. Councilor Flynn.
Yes.
Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Janey.
Yes.
Councilor Janey, yes. Councilor Mejia.
Yes.
Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley, yes. Councilor Wu.
Yes.
Councilor Wu, yes. Madam President, the minutes have a unanimous approval.
And you have Councilor Arroyo.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Arroyo.
Yes.
Councilor Arroyo, yes. Now we have unanimous
Thank you
approval.
so much. And we'll move on to communications from His Honor the Mayor, beginning with docket 0436. Madam Clerk?
Docket 0436, message and order authorizing the city of Boston to accept and expend an amount of $100,000 in the form of a grant for the CAN Chair FY 2021, awarded by the donor group to be administered by the Office of Food Access. The grant will fund key Office of Food Access programs and initiatives that support their mission of creating a more food secure Boston.
Excellent, wonderful. Docket 0436 will be referred to the Committee on Strong Women, Families, and Communities. And we'll move on to docket 0437.
Docket 0437, message and order authorizing the city of Boston to accept and expend an amount of $60,000 in the form of a grant for policies and programs to maximize reuse, recycling, and waste reduction, awarded by the Mass Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs to be administered by the Public Works Department. The grant will fund Sustainable Material Recovery Program recycling dividends.
Thank you so much. The chair recognizes Councilor O'Malley. Councilor O'Malley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules and passage of docket 0437. Is a relatively small grant of $60,000 awarded by Mass Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. Will be administered by our Public Works Department, and it will allow us to expand the very popular Project Oscar composting service, which we offer to residents. Again, this is incredibly important to help with waste diversion. 25% of all waste could be compostable, and that means we could save up to a quarter of our increasing trash and recycling costs if we were to expand this. Because of efforts of this body, we will be having a curbside compost piloting implemented. The details are just being worked out, but this will allow us to expand upon an already successful and proven program, Project Oscar, which are some composting bins available in several neighborhoods. We hope to get them in every neighborhood, and this will just help fund the infrastructure. So again, ask my colleagues to suspend the rules and pass docket 0437.
Thank you so much. Councilor O'Malley, who is Chair of the Committee on Environment, Resiliency, and Parks, seeks suspension of the rules and passage of docket 0437. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Docket 0437, Councilor Arroyo.
Yes.
Councilor Arroyo, yes. Councilor Baker.
Yes.
Councilor Baker, yes. Councilor Bach.
Yes.
Councilor Bach, yes. Councilor Braden.
Yes.
Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Campbell.
Yes.
Councilor Campbell, yes. Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Councilor Edwards, yes. Councilor Sabi George.
Yes.
Councilor Sabi George, yes. Councilor Flaherty.
Yes.
Councilor Flaherty, yes. Councilor Flynn.
Yes.
Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Janey.
Yes.
Councilor Janey, yes. Councilor Mejia.
Yes.
Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley, yes. And Councilor Wu.
Yes.
Councilor Wu, yes. Madam President, docket number 0437 has received a unanimous vote.
Thank you so much. Docket 0437 has passed, and we'll move on to docket 0438. Madam Clerk?
Docket 0438, message and order authorizing the city of Boston to accept and expend an amount of $40,000 in the form of a grant for the FY 2021 Jail Arrest Diversion Grant awarded by the Mass Department of Mental Health, administered by the Police Department. The grant will fund overtime costs to backfill crisis intervention training for officers.
Thank you so much. Docket 0438 will be referred to the Committee on Public Safety.
Sorry, Madam President. Yes, I wanted to speak on this docket. We
Okay,
got some information from the administration at the last minute, so we'll suspend. I'm seeking going to seek
wonderful,
suspension.
wonderful.
Thank
The
you.
Chair recognizes Councilor Campbell, who is Chair of the Committee on Public Safety and Criminal Justice. Councilor Campbell, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. We just got some information from the administration, which is extremely helpful to this grant. So as Chair of the Committee on Public Safety and Criminal Justice, going to seek suspension of the rules and passage of this docket. It is a grant that is for $40,000 through the Jail Arrest Diversion Program, which is awarded by the State's Department of Mental Health to the Police Department. Of course, I, along with I think many others, do not take it lightly that this is to cover overtime costs, particularly given our Ways and Means and public safety hearings on reining in overtime costs. But the grant is actually going to be used to cover the overtime costs of officers who were required to fill in for officers who attended some crisis intervention trainings. So as Chair of the Committee on Public Safety and Criminal Justice, seeking suspension of the rules and passage of docket 0438. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you so much. Counselor Campbell seeks suspension of the rules and passage of docket 0438. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Docket 0438, Counselor Arroyo.
Yes.
Counselor Arroyo, yes. Counselor Baker.
Yes.
Counselor Baker, yes. Counselor Bach.
Yes.
Counselor Bach, yes. Counselor Braden.
Yes.
Counselor Braden, yes. Counselor Campbell.
Yes.
Counselor Campbell, yes. Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Counselor Edwards, yes. Counselor Asabi George.
Yes.
Counselor Asabi George, yes. Counselor Flaherty.
Yes.
Counselor Flaherty, yes. Counselor Flynn.
Yes.
Counselor Flynn, yes. Counselor Janey.
Yes.
Counselor Janey, yes. Counselor Mejia.
Yes.
Counselor Mejia, yes. Counselor O'Malley.
Yes.
Counselor O'Malley, yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And Counselor Wu.
Yes.
Counselor Wu, yes. Madam President, docket number 0438 has received a unanimous vote.
Thank you so much. Docket 0438 has passed, and we'll now move on to reports of public officers and others. The next two dockets, Madam Clerk, docket 0439 and 0440, could you please read those together?
Certainly. Docket 0439, notices received from the city clerk in accordance with chapter 6 of the ordinances of 1979 regarding action taken by the mayor on papers acted upon by the city council at its meeting of March 3rd, 2021. Docket number 0440, notices received from the city clerk in accordance with chapter 6 of the ordinances of 1979 regarding action taken by the mayor on papers acted upon by the city council at its meeting of March 10th, 2021.
Thank you so much. Dockets 0439 and 0440 will both be placed on file. We'll now move on to matters recently heard for possible action. Madam Clerk, if you could please read docket 0182.
Thank you. Docket 0182, order for hearing regarding supplemental sidewalk clearance programs during snowstorm in Boston.
Thank you so much. The chair recognizes Councilor Flynn, who is chair of our Committee on City and Neighborhood Services. Councilor Flynn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, we had a productive hearing yesterday on the possibility of a supplemental sidewalk clearance program, which was sponsored by City Councilor Bach. The hearing was attended by Councilors Bach, Braden, Flaherty, Mejia, Wu, Baker, Asabi George, O'Malley, and Edwards. We heard from Chief Osgood and Superintendent Michael Bruhl, as well as from Corey Driscoll Dunham, Chief Operating Officer from the City of Syracuse, and representatives from Walk Boston and Livable Streets. In the hearing, we spoke about how while roadways are cleared after a snowstorm, the sidewalks and crosswalks are often not cleared. This is an issue for seniors and persons with disabilities, and certainly it makes it difficult and dangerous for them to travel after a snowstorm. We heard from Chief Osgood and Superintendent Bruhl about the current snow removal program that we had in Boston, and that sidewalk clearance is currently the adjacent property owner's responsibility. We also heard about the City of Syracuse's sidewalk clearance program, as they had a pilot sidewalk snow removal program in 2019 for certain sidewalks. They contracted this program out, and it was at no cost to the taxpayers as well. This is an important conversation to have because it is important that we ensure that our sidewalks are cleared as soon as possible after a snowstorm, so that our seniors and persons with disabilities and little children going to school can travel and use the sidewalks safely. I want to keep this matter in committee. I want to thank Council Bach again for sponsoring this hearing, but I also want to recognize the incredible work of our dedicated city workers that are out in the snowstorms every storm for us. And they do an exceptional job, whether it's the public works or it's the parks or it's inspectional services, all working together, including 311. And that's what Boston does best. It works together. And just so proud of this, our city workers for their exceptional work that they can continue to do in Boston day in and day out. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you so much, Councilor Flynn. I see Councilor Baker, you have your hand raised. Would you like to add any comments?
Yes, just thank Councilor Flynn for the hearing, also Councilor Bach for being the lead sponsor. This is a great idea, something I've been talking with the administration with for probably 5 or 6 years. New York City has a 10,000 person, not to call it day labor, but access to labor, 10,000 people that they use to clean sidewalks, and more than just clean sidewalks. So this is, if we could look at this in a smaller way, to help us in projects that we could use them in the Parks Department, Public Works, all around the city, but also as a pathway into city jobs. We can identify people through this list, get them into Public Works, get them in the Parks Department. I just think it's a really, really good idea, and wanted to make sure I thanked Councilor Bach for her leadership here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilor Baker. Docket 0182 will remain in the Committee of City and Neighborhood Services. We will now move on to motions, orders, and resolutions, beginning with docket 0441. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Docket 0441, Councilor Edwards and Wu offer the following ordinance relative to the investment of the city treasury.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Edwards. You're on mute.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I actually said thank you very much for the introduction, and also thank you for reminding me about being on mute. I wanted to first move to suspend Row 12 and add Councilor O'Malley as an original co-sponsor.
Seeing and hearing no objections, Councilor O'Malley is added as the third original co-sponsor.
Thank you very much. The City of Boston exercises significant discretion on the investments that it makes from its city treasury. These investments carry significant exposure, unfortunately, to this day to fossil fuels, which are the largest contributor to climate change. We have a long-term goal of making our city carbon neutral, but our long-term investments are still in fossil fuels. There's a disconnect. And that's what this ordinance tries to bring a bridge between that. Essentially bringing our long-term goals of being carbon neutral and our investments and the money that could back up those goals to basically be in line with each other. As such, we want to make sure that we do two things. One, after a certain percentage, I think 15% of our investment shouldn't be invested in stocks, bonds, or any other investment that involves fossil fuels. The other thing we want to do is make sure that there's an annual report demonstrating where all of our money is going, where it's not going, and how we can actually redirect it towards other investments that will yield equal, if not more, a return on their investments. The goal is not to empty our retirement. The goal is to bring our retirement and our long-term goals together. Just some quick background. In February 2019, the city updated its cash investment policy to promote environmental, social, and government standards in local investments. So the city is thinking about this. The council also previously voted to support state legislation authorizing and directing pension fund investments away from fossil fuels. And of course, in 2014, before I was on the council, Councilor O'Malley and Wu had a conversation about divestment. And then 2019, we again had that conversation and added private prisons and weaponry as well to the questions of where we should divest. This city has led under Mayor Flynn. We specifically divested from South Africa, and Massachusetts became the first state to divest from South Africa. So this is normal. And other cities around the country, 2018, New York City announced plans to divest $5 billion from the fossil fuel industry and sue the oil and gas industry for their damages to their society. In 2016 and 17, Portland, Oregon adopted socially responsible investment screens, which is also part of our ordinance, to preclude the city from investing in unethical investment activities. In recent years around the state, Amherst, Somerville, Cambridge, Framingham, and dozens of cities have voted to support resolutions supporting fossil fuel divestment. The facts are, fossil fuels are responsible for, man-made fossil fuels are responsible for 80% of the greenhouse gases that are released into the atmosphere, and we cannot be part of investing in them. Divestment has proven to be an effective strategy. It stigmatizes unethical industries and institutions and practices by state governments. And again, as I mentioned, Massachusetts already has led in this conversation when it came to South Africa in 1982. We should continue to lead in this conversation as a city in Boston. Our scientists are telling us that we are at a critical juncture. We need to put our money where our mouth is. The irony is many of us are fighting for that carbon neutrality while our retirements are based on fossil fuels being robust. I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to be a hypocrite. So this ordinance brings us in line and makes all of us less hypocritical and more pro-environment. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you so much. The chair recognizes Councilor Wu. Councilor Wu, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to thank the lead sponsor and thank our co-sponsor, Councilor O'Malley, as well, who has been a partner since my very first year on the council on this issue when we joined with climate activists to have that conversation, as Councilor Edwards has mentioned, and to pass that resolution urging state divestment from fossil fuels. And so today I'm eager to continue this work, demanding that we act with the urgency we know is scientifically and morally necessary. Our public investments should reflect long-term prosperity and sustainability, and this would be taking our full power, our municipal authority, to shift investments away from harmful industries and create a more just, resilient, and safer city. Councilor Edwards has done a good job of summarizing the legacy of Massachusetts and actions and the impact that this has. I will also just shout out so many of the youth climate activists in this field. I'm committed to centering their generation and partnering on their work, as activists from several local universities are also recently taking legal action to work with the Attorney General's office and in divest universities' holdings from fossil fuels as well. And so with this step, we are urging the council and the city to fulfill our role as fiscal stewards. We know that investing in these harmful, predatory companies that are damaging the world's natural systems and is actually a financially unstable decision as well. And so we want to move our money towards more sustainable, more stable, and long-term protective investments for everyone in the city of Boston. So thank you so much, Councilor Edwards, Councilor O'Malley. Eager to keep moving this forward.
Thank you so much. The chair recognizes Councilor O'Malley. Councilor O'Malley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, of course, to my two colleagues and friends and partners in this work, Councilor Edwards and Councilor Wu. This is a logical next step of the continuation of our work over the last 7 years. And I'm looking forward to codifying some real impactful changes as it relates to our pension funds. The two prior speakers really eloquently explained why we ought to do this, so I don't need to be repetitive. But I did want to make the economic case as well. I often say every fiscal conservative ought to be an environmentalist, the one who cares about a strong, robust pension, as are all of us as people who will perhaps one day collect a city pension and whose job it is to oversee sound fiscal management. Should get the best deal for our constituents and for our fellow city workers. The fact of the matter is that sustainability funds have experienced a growth unlike any other industry. Pre-pandemic, we saw assets double over a 3-year period. Since the pandemic, we've seen impact investing index value reach $250 billion, $250 billion. It is the fastest growing, among the fastest growing industries we've seen. It makes a lot of sense to invest our money there. We are seeing the need for an increase in renewable infrastructure right here in Boston. All of us, because of the work of this council, are now getting more of our electricity from renewable energy sources, or most of us, I should say, I would assume all of us. And the infrastructure growth is what's absolutely needed. So this is something that we ought to make the moral case why we should divest from fossil fuels. The political case, with a small p case, why we should invest or divest from fossil fuels, and the fiduciary case why we should divest from fossil fuels, because we can make more money looking at renewable and looking at other attributes. So I'm delighted for this partnership, for this work. I'm looking forward to seeing something robust hopefully come before this body in relatively short order. Thank you very much. You're on mute, Madam President.
Madam President, we can't hear you.
Thank you. All right, I don't see any Zoom hands. So anyone who wants to add their name, they could raise their physical hand. That would be great. Madam Clerk, could you please add Councilor Braden, Councilor Sabi George, Councilor Bach, Councilor Flaherty, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Campbell, Councilor Arroyo, Councilor Flynn. Did I get everyone who wants to add their name? Please also add the chair. Docket 0441 will be referred to the Committee of Government Operations, and we'll go to docket 0442.
Thank you. Docket 0442, Councilor Edwards and Braden offer the following ordinance, expanding access to local democracy in the city of Boston.
Great. The chair recognizes Councilor Edwards. Councilor Edwards, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. May I again suspend Rule 12 and add Councilor Mejia as an original co-sponsor?
Seeing and hearing no objections, Councilor Mejia is added.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Local democracy flourishes when every resident can participate and follow along in public meetings. Our democracy today needs to meet people where they are, and they are on their apps, they're on social media, they're on their computers, and they're on their laptops. A lot of that is due to the pandemic that we're in. What we have learned, if anything, and if there is some few silver linings, is that we can adjust our government to meet people where they are, or at least should absolutely do that. Because if we didn't and couldn't, we would have been literally held hostage and we couldn't function as a government. So we adjusted. We got children laptops. We put a lot of our hearings online. We began to go to Zoom. We did all of these different things. And I think a lot of those things need to stay. I think they need to be examined. They need to be made even more robust, and they need to be more inclusive. And that is what this conversation and this ordinance is going to do. I so deeply believe that I think it should be a law because it's a matter, I believe, of civil rights, access, First Amendment, and the ability for people to participate in democracy. We're currently doing remote participation for so many public meetings. And in as much as we're going to continue to do that, we need to make sure that we have a standard for which we're going to do it by. And that's what I hope this ordinance will allow for us to do. I want every single department, public meeting, anything that we demand the public to have a hearing about or have a public voice, or when we say we're going to be public facing, all of them should have this as an option. We're not saying we're going to replace physical meetings. We're saying this enhances them. And let's be very, very, very frank. For many people, the physical meetings at 10 o'clock in the morning or the school committee meetings right after work, all of these meetings weren't accessible anyway. There was a lot of inequity in who could show up and the languages that they could speak. And residents with disabilities who face specific, unique challenges and access often felt that they were not included as well. So this ordinance is going to deal with language, deal with folks with disability, set a baseline standard for which all departments that are going to have public facing hearings and meetings and committees and so on and so forth, that they will have to meet. And then also we'll come up with a timeline in which we can implement that and also how we should fund it. I'm very excited about this. I think of the things that we have introduced, people have been most excited about this. And I am not saying, again, that this is perfect in any way, shape, or form. There are a lot of things that need to change in even how we interact on social media and on this medium of Zoom and whatever we choose to do. But it's worth the conversation, and I absolutely think we should keep with it. So thank you so very much, Madam President.
Thank you so much. The chair recognizes Councilor Braden. Councilor Braden, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to Councillor Edwards for her leadership on this really important issue. A year ago this week, we all left City Hall, and all of our community meetings went online, and we used Zoom and other platforms to enable our residents and constituents to participate in public meetings. In many cases, public participation increased because it was offered accessibility to parents taking care of children, folks taking care of elders, and it just opened up a whole new level of access for our constituents. So I really welcome this ordinance. I welcome this discussion to see if we can not go back to the old normal, but try and use what we've learned in this COVID crisis to expand access to public meetings and to increase public participation. Their voice is incredibly important. I think we've learned many lessons from COVID, and let's not lose this opportunity to making things better. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to our co-sponsors, Councilor Edwards and Braden, for their incredible leadership in this space. You know that when I saw this, I was extremely excited about it, because I remember a year ago today, actually, talking about the fact that COVID was going to give us an opportunity to really build the infrastructure for what it was going to look like when we're really serious about giving people back a real meaningful way to engage in city government. And so going on Zoom, I remember you, Madam President, talking about we were going to get a Zoom training, we were going to figure out how this all worked. And so to be here a year later, speaking on this as an ordinance and something that we're going to establish beyond COVID is just incredibly heartwarming to me. And more importantly, you know, one of the first things that we talked about when we were out on the campaign trail was this whole idea of a hearing on public hearings, because we heard everywhere that city government and meetings, the times they happened, the locations, the accessibility, all of that was one of the biggest reasons why we wanted to lead with a hearing on public hearings and working alongside Councilor Edwards and making sure that we were meeting this moment in a way that really talked about the issues of access and accountability. And so I'm really incredibly excited about this, because we've said from the beginning, if we really want to lead with community-driven goals, then we need to be able to involve the community along in that process. When we went remote, we proved what is possible, and now we need to continue to move that work forward. We have an opportunity to keep the channels of communication open so that more and more voices can be heard and centered in the process. This ordinance does not remove in-person accessibility, but rather provides alternate means for access. This ordinance is a strong first step in making government process more accessible, but there's still clearly a lot more that we need to do, including reducing barriers to accessing digital technology, conducting business of government at times that are more convenient for our constituents. We hope that the process and the hearing and working sessions will strengthen this ordinance so that we're creating the gold standard for good government. We are incredibly excited for this process and look forward to working closely alongside Councilor Edwards and Breeden to make this happen. And more importantly, as we continue to do this work, is recognizing one of the other factors that I know digital democracy is what this is all about, but I really want us to lean in on the fact that there are a lot of single moms who want to participate and are juggling a lot and may not be able to do so, whether they're on the internet or in person, and that we have to really think about how do we create space for everyone to be heard and to be engaged in the process. So looking forward to the work, and so incredibly grateful to see our colleagues diving in and leading in this front. Looking forward to the work. Thank you, Councilor Edwards and Brady, for allowing me to join you in this effort. Really do appreciate your leadership and your participation and partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. The chair recognizes Councilor Wu. Councilor Wu, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to request that my name be added to this docket and to thank the sponsors for it. This has been, I think, in some ways, a step that so many of our government agencies could and should have been taking all along to remove barriers for people not having to travel to different locations or make it difficult during work hours. I wholeheartedly, and also to make sure that there's additional technology and tools to allow for simultaneous interpretation and translation as well. I also wanted just to echo some of what the sponsors have said, as I'd heard concerns in the community about making sure we were not getting rid of in-person meetings, and just to reflect that there have been elements of all virtual public conversations that have felt in some ways disempowering for residents, not so much in terms of receiving information, which the access and the online removing barriers is important, but in being able to organize, being able to show up at meetings, being able to see who else is present and to hear directly from your neighbors. I think some of our agencies have been using different features of various meetings where it's not possible to, for example, see the chat or see who else is on. And so there are pieces that we can't substitute from communities being able to come together in person. And I'm glad that we've had several examples of meetings being pushed back so that they can happen in person when there's a lot of community feedback to be received and incorporated. So would love to make sure that we have an ongoing conversation about, even in the places where we are continuing to supplement with online and virtual access, how that can still be as inclusive and as receptive as possible to allowing for community building, in addition to just receiving feedback. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Wu. The chair recognizes Councilor Flynn. Councilor Flynn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, please add my name. And also, I just wanted to thank the sponsors, and one critical part of it that the sponsors included, which is very important, is the outreach we provide to persons with disabilities, making sure that city government, all city services are available to them. I frequently talk to the commissioner of the Mayor's Commission on Persons with Disabilities and include her in discussions, and I've asked city departments to include her in discussions, and they have, and it has had a big impact, especially on infrastructure improvements on sidewalks and streets, making sure that there's a representative at the table from the disabilities community. So I want to thank my city council colleagues, all of you, for your strong support of persons with disabilities in making sure government works for everybody, especially those that can have a challenging time with certain issues. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Not seeing any other discussion. Show of physical hands, please. Madam Clerk, if you could please add Councilor Baker. Councilor Baker, did you want to speak? Why don't we, before we take all of the other sign-ons, Councilor Baker, you have the floor.
You're muted.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to first sign on to this here, but I just want to make one point here. Section 1-85 enforcement, it talks about intentional violations. As a city worker, and in that, it talks about up to and including termination. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with that language. I know we'll get into it, but I mean, we're talking about John Q. city worker here. If someone makes a mistake and their job is on the line, that concerns me. But I totally agree with the intent of the legislation and want to sign on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Show of physical hands, please. We're adding Councilor Baker, Councilor O'Malley, Councilor Asabi George, Councilor Arroyo, Councilor Campbell, Councilor Bach, Councilor Flaherty. Did I get everyone? Please also add the chair. Docket 0442 will be referred to the Committee on Government Operations, and we'll move on to docket 0443.
Thank you. Docket 0443, Councilors Edwards and Flynn offer the following order for hearing on digital infrastructure and electronic city services.
Thank you so much. The chair recognizes Councilor Edwards.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I want to, this is in tandem with the other ordinance where the other one sets a baseline for how it should be going on, regardless of who picks up online access. This one actually goes to, let's examine where all of this access could be, not just in our committee meetings, not just in hearings, not just in where public people are asked to testify or give feedback, but literally in how we interact with the public. For many people, the city of Boston hasn't been, its process isn't modern enough. Part of the ZBA reforms that are still to come in is the fact that people should be able to file for a permit online instead of physically have to go to 1010 Mass Ave. I look forward to the day where someone literally is filling out a form for saying where they live, whether they want a dormer, if they need a variance, and it's just walk through online so that they submit an application with a fee. That's the kind of thing that we should be doing. And look at every single department. If you're looking for housing, if you need to be able to fill out several applications, people physically can come in or we can send the paperwork to you. But how do we interact with you online? Why don't we have abilities that many banks do right now to literally do a Q&A online and chat with people from each department? So if I'm calling in 311, and I know not only just want to talk to 311, but can be connected and to chat with them directly. These are exciting things, and some departments are ahead than others. but we want to make sure everyone is working together. And what that means is for us to have that comprehensive conversation and to bring Do It in there, because this is not trying to replace them. This is actually trying to grow them. I think we need to quadruple their staff and quadruple their budget and really build what I think the word is apropos, infrastructure. I think access to data, to digital infrastructure is just as important as our streetscape, is just as important as our tree canopy, is just as important as our water infrastructure, our electrical grid. This is how our city is going to flourish and grow and be more accessible. So I'm excited about this hearing. I want to all hands on deck. This is one of those moments where we're literally trying to build a stronger infrastructure and for our democracy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. The chair recognizes Councilor Flynn. Councilor Flynn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Councilor Edwards, for including me on this hearing order and to have this discussion on how we can ensure that our city has a robust digital infrastructure that serves the needs of our residents. Many of our residents are now reliant on accessing city services and resources electronically, whether it's trying to fill out a permit online or trying to access information about services online. We need to ensure that our city website and digital infrastructure is equipped to provide these digital services, including ensuring that our website is easy to navigate, especially for people that have difficulty navigating the computer system. And that services have multiple language options. Looking forward to this conversation. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Councilor Edwards.
Thank you so much. The chair recognizes Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Madam President, and thank you to the co-sponsors of this ordinance. I am incredibly inspired and encouraged by this. I've actually had to learn my own way through navigating through some of the city services by trying to help other people who did not even know how to obtain an updated birth certificate recently. There was a number of different steps that they would have to take, including getting an affidavit signed and uploaded. I just think that if there's a way for us to streamline these processes, I think that people will have an easier way to navigate city services. So I'm so incredibly happy to see this. And I also think a lot of the work that we've been doing on our language access ordinance, I think that this is something else that can help support digital democracy and digital information justice in ways that also to ensure that people who don't know how to speak English, and also being mindful that not everybody knows how to read and or write even in their native language, as we think about moving towards a digital environment, that we're really super mindful of how we're making sure that we're not losing some folks along the way. So incredibly encouraged and grateful for this. And I'm going to be one of the first people sign on and support this. So thank you so very much, and looking forward to all the work that comes along with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. Not seeing any other speakers. A show of physical hands for those who would
Madam
like
President, Madam President, my hand's not working.
Oh, sure. Councilor Flaherty, please, you have
Thank you.
the floor.
Just briefly, just to remind folks that Councilor Wu and I had worked on this. We had filed something back in April of 2020 to discuss the status of offering city services online and expanding the range of accessible services online, and suggest that it may make some sense to possibly do a joint hearing on this, obviously through the chair and the appropriate sponsors, the lead sponsors on that matter. But it's something that was refiled, and it's something that we've talked about working on together. So happy to cooperate any way we can.
Thank you, Councilor Flaherty. Show of physical hands now for those who would like to add their name. Madam Clerk, if you could please add Councilor O'Malley, Councilor Sabi George, Councilor Arroyo, Councilor Braden, Councilor Bach, Councilor Baker, Councilor Campbell, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Wu, Councilor Flaherty. Did I get everyone who wants to add their name? Please also add the chair. Docket 0443 will be referred to the Committee on City and Neighborhood Services, and we'll go on to docket 0444.
Docket 0444, Councilor Edwards offered the following resolution in support of Senate Docket 1709, an act relative to medication-assisted recovery and care.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Edwards. Councilor Edwards, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam President. This resolution is inspired by Mark Silvestri of Revere. He's with the Office of Veteran Services there. He's also a good friend of mine, and he's given me permission to also say he is one of the many members of the recovery community. He served in Iraq and came back and struggled and now is thriving in his recovery and has become a leader and a voice for so many people who are voiceless. This is also, I want to give thanks to Senator Boncory, who introduced the MARC Act. Actually, it's the MARC Act, the Medication Assisted Recovery Act. And I also want to thank Nikki Silvestri, and the Office of Substance Use Disorder Initiatives in Revere. And I want to be very clear, this is not a question about whether we should be having medical assisted recovery or medication available that is to help you with opioid addiction. This is not a question about methadone or Suboxone or anything like that. This is a question of whether administrative burden and inconsistencies in our laws is hurting people. And it is. Right now, the federal guidelines are less restrictive than the state guidelines for having access to some of that medication that many people need to live. For example, while the states may adopt additional regulations that fit within the federal guidelines, Massachusetts guidelines actually are far stricter than the federal ones. It's caused delays and created significant barriers for those in recovery. This bill, introduced by Senator Boncory, would actually just bring us in line with the federal regs and give agencies a little bit more flexibility when it comes to medication-assisted recovery tools. This bill would also follow the 2019 Harm Reduction Commission report and the 2015 Opioid Working Group report that both support these guideline changes. Some changes include being able to take home medication on Sundays and holidays, reducing the amount of drug testing from 15 times a year under Massachusetts standards to 8. It would follow the federal timeline schedule for take-home medications and also remove THC testing for those in detox. These are small things that actually make a huge difference. If someone is rejected or told that they can no longer continue with their medication-assisted recovery, then we could be putting their life at stake. And again, this is an administrative mismatch and people are falling in between the cracks. Updating these guidelines for long-term outpatient treatment is going to actually be life-saving for so many people and consistent. And that's what we're asking for, is consistency in how we treat, how we regulate, and how we give access to people to life-saving medication. So I hope the council will go on board or go on record with me. I would like to suspend the rules and hopefully pass this resolution in support of the MARC Act introduced by Senator Boncory. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The chair recognizes Councilor Baker. Councilor Baker, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If it's okay through you, if I can ask Councilor Edwards a question.
Yes.
I don't have the legislation in front of me. Does this speak to safe injection sites at all?
No, it's only within the federal regulations that are already allowed.
Okay, thank you. Can you sign my name, please? Thank you.
Yes. Not seeing any other discussion. A show of physical hands, please, for those who want to add their name. Madam Clerk, if you could please add Councilor O'Malley, Councilor Sabi George, Councilor Arroyo, Councilor Flynn, Councilor Braden, Councilor Bach, Councilor Baker, Councilor Wu, Councilor Flaherty, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Campbell. Please also add the chair. Councilor Edwards seeks suspension of the rules and adoption of docket 0444. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Docket 0444. Councilor Arroyo.
Yes.
Councilor Arroyo, yes. Councilor Baker.
Yes.
Councilor Baker, yes. Councilor Bach.
Yes.
Councilor Bach, yes. Councilor Braden.
Yes.
Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Campbell.
Yes, and take your time.
Thank you. Councilor Campbell, yes. Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Councilor Edwards, yes. Councilor Sabi George.
Yes.
Councilor Sabi George, yes. Councilor Flaherty.
Yes.
Councilor Flaherty, yes. Councilor Flynn.
Yes.
Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Janey.
Yes.
Councilor Janey, yes. Councilor Mejia.
Yes.
Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley, yes. And Councilor Wu.
Yes.
Councilor Wu, yes. Madam President, docket number 0444 has been adopted unanimously.
Thank you so much. Could you please read docket 0445, please?
Certainly. Docket 0445, Councilors Edwards and Flynn offer the following resolution in support of the striking nurses at St. Vincent Hospital in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Thank you so much. The chair recognizes Councilor Edwards. Councilor Edwards, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I am beyond excited to say that I had the opportunity to walk the picket line with nurses in Worcester this past weekend with Councilor Flynn. We went to St. Vincent Hospital specifically to stand in solidarity with those nurses who are asking for safe patient limits. They're asking to be respected for the workers that they are, and they are wanting more than anything to come in good faith to the bargaining table to make sure that their real experience of saving people's lives right now in a pandemic is respected and they are compensated in real ways. And what we're finding is that as this hospital has been taken over by a private company, they're certainly putting profits over people. They have decided based off profit margins what the patient limits should be and how much a nurse can typically handle. And we're talking about people's lives being at stake. We're talking about people in a pandemic with ICUs and nurses getting unrealistic patient ratios that are going to cause people to die. This is about saving lives. This is about recognizing that these are essential workers. These are superheroes doing their job, and we need to listen to them. And so coming out there and standing in solidarity with not only their union, the MNA, but so many people who came from Boston, from around the state, was a joy. And I want to thank Councilor Flynn actually for pulling me along and saying, let's head out to Worcester. And I just want to thank already the leadership that this body has taken so many times when workers have said, we need your voice. We have stood by them as a body. And I want them to know without a doubt, we officially do so. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you so much. The chair recognizes Councilor Flynn. Councilor Flynn, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to Councilor Edwards and Councilor Braden as well. Want to say thank you to Councilor Edwards for her longtime support of worker rights, and also Councilor Braden, who's been in the medical field helping patients her entire professional life. So Councilor Braden knows this issue as well as anybody. So proud to join my two colleagues. It's about respect. It's about dignity for nurses and their families, but it's also about the patients, making sure that when nurses are caring for our loved ones, that they have the right number of patients that they can care for at a time. We want to see our nurses in our loved ones' rooms at the hospital as much as possible, but they can't do that if they're overburdened with so many different tasks and while the hospital increases the number of patients that they can see. So again, it's about respect. It's about standing with the working men and women of this city and state, and this city council has a history of doing that for so many years. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go right back to Councilor Edwards for a moment. Councilor Edwards, you have the floor.
And my incredible enthusiasm to celebrate the incredible hard work of our workers. I forgot one of the original co-sponsors of this was Councilor Braden. I would love to, if possible, suspend Rule 12 to add her as an original co-sponsor. And I apologize, Councilor Braden.
Seeing and hearing no objections, Councilor Braden has been added as an original co-sponsor. And at this time, I'd like to call upon her to offer some comments. Councilor Braden, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Councillor Edwards and Councillor Flynn, for allowing me to be added as an original co-sponsor to this. My mother was a nurse. Her sisters were nurses. I've worked in healthcare all my adult career and all my adult life, and I really feel very strongly about this issue. Nurses are incredibly dedicated, caring professionals who put the care of their patient first, and it is a great cause of great concern and distress to them when they do not have adequate staffing levels to safely ensure adequate care for the patients that they are responsible for. want to stand in solidarity with the nurses at St. Vincent's Hospital in Worcester. They've been trying to negotiate a contract with Tenant Healthcare for 2 years and haven't come to an acceptable resolution and have been forced to go on strike. Nurses don't go on strike unless it's an extreme situation. And I trust that when they report on safe staffing levels, that it is an extreme situation that forced them to go on strike. So I'd like to go on record as standing in solidarity with those nurses, urging Tenant Healthcare to come to a speedy resolution to address those concerns and restore safe staffing levels and put patients first before profit. Healthcare should not be about profit. It should be about good quality care delivered to those who are most in need, and to honor and respect the professional decisions and the professional opinion of our nurses who put the care of the patient first. So thank you, Madam Chair, and I urge my colleagues to vote in support of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The chair recognizes Councillor Asabi-George. Councillor Asabi-George, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and thank you to the makers for putting this before the body. And as Councilor Braden just said, it is extreme circumstances that would allow any nurse to walk from the bedside of caring for her patient. And so when desperate times call for desperate measures, we need to absolutely, without a doubt, have the backs of our nurses, whether they're in Boston or Worcester or anywhere in between. So I'm wholeheartedly endorsing this resolution. Please add my name. And let's hope that our nurses across our Commonwealth feel both represented and cared for themselves. Thank you, Madam President. And again, thank you to the makers.
Thank you so much. Not seeing any other discussion. A show of physical hands, please, for all those who would like to add their name to this resolution. Madam Clerk, if you could please add Councillor O'Malley, Councillor Baker, Councillor Bach, Councillor Mejia, Councillor Arroyo, Councillor Flaherty, Councillor Wu, Councillor Campbell. I have you, Councillor Flaherty. Did I get everyone who wants to add their name? Please also add the chair. Councillor Edwards, Councillor Flynn, and Councillor Braden seek suspension of the rules and adoption of docket 0445. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Docket number 0445, Councillor Arroyo.
Yes.
Councillor Arroyo, yes. Councillor Baker.
Yes.
Councillor Baker, yes. Councillor Bach.
Yes.
Councillor Bach, yes. Councillor Braden.
Yes.
Councillor Braden, yes. Councillor Edwards.
Yes.
Whoops. Councillor Campbell, I didn't really forget about you. I'm slipping.
I'm looking at Councillor Edwards and smiling.
That's
Hey, girl.
very distracting. Councillor Campbell.
I am a yes.
And Councillor Campbell is a yes. Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Yes.
Councillor Edwards, yes. Councillor Asabi-George.
Yes.
Councillor Asabi-George, yes. Councillor Flaherty.
Yes.
Councillor Flaherty, yes. Councillor Flynn.
Yes.
Councillor Flynn, yes. Councillor Janey.
Yes.
Councillor Janey, yes. Councillor Mejia.
Yes.
Councillor Mejia, yes. Councillor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councillor O'Malley, yes. And Councillor Wu.
Yes.
Madam President, docket number 0445 has been adopted unanimously.
Thank you so much. We'll move on to docket 0446, which
Thank
is
you.
not offered by Councillor Edwards. We will, but please read docket 0446 into the record. Thankfully, we had Councillor Edwards because there wouldn't be much of an agenda without all of her dockets today.
Wonderful busy work.
Yes, very
Docket-
important work, yes.
Yes. Docket 0446, Councillor Flynn offered the following resolution in support of Senate Docket 1313, an act relative to the structure of the Fiscal Management and Control Board.
Thank you so much. The chair recognizes Councillor Flynn. Councillor Flynn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, may I add Councillor Bach as an original co-sponsor?
And did you want to add Counselor Edwards too? No, I'm just teasing you. I'm just teasing. Yes, speaking, hearing no objections, Counselor Bach is added.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. This resolution supports the State Bill SD 1313. It's an act relative to the structure of the Fiscal Management and Control Board sponsored by Senator Nick Collins. This bill proposes to change the structure of the Fiscal Management Board, Control Board, by expanding the board to 7 members, including 1 member to be appointed by the mayor of the city of Boston. Having a seat appointed by the mayor is appropriate, as the MBTA plays a critical part of Boston's transportation system, and many of our Boston residents rely on the MBTA as a model for transportation. Boston also has the biggest share of the MBTA ridership and has the largest number of MBTA stations. I hope that we can pass this resolution today so that we can urge the state legislature to pass SD 1313 and ensure that Boston has a voice in the future of the MBTA. I also want to recognize the incredible work all of my colleagues have done on advocating for support for a city presence on the MBTA, but also standing up for the riders as well. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you so much. The chair recognizes Counselor Bach. Counselor Bach?
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to Councillor Flynn for his leadership on this and letting me join. Boston, as I think everyone on this council knows, has the greatest ridership and the most MBTA stops of any municipality in Massachusetts, and we also pay the largest MBTA assessment. And our residents are relying on the MBTA every day to get to work, school, small businesses, and basic services. Yet Boston does not have a seat at the table when it comes to important decision-making at the MBTA. And I really think these recent harmful cuts have shown us what happens when we don't have that seat at the table. It's our Boston residents who are suffering with these cuts to public transportation on every level, from buses. And I thank the council again for support of the 55 that's been suspended in my district, but also just the headways on all of our train lines and suspension of weekend commuter rail service, just tons of things that our residents rely on to do everything they need to do in their lives. And I think that Boston, we object to this particular cut, but at a systematic level, we need to make sure that we've actually got a voice in this governance going forward. So the piece of legislation SD 1313 that's been refiled was part of the city's kind of legislative package up at the State House last year. And I think it's something that we all need to get behind to really push for that voice at the table for our residents, our essential workers, our folks with disabilities, our just folks who rely on the T every day. So I think I'd hope that the whole council would join us in supporting a call for this representation, and that it's something that we can make a strong push for at the State House. It's only right and fair, and I think that Boston having a seat would help make sure that transit riders have a real voice in decisions about this critical public service. Thanks so much, Madam President.
Thank you so much, Counselor Bach. The chair recognizes Counselor Baker. Counselor Baker, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank Council Flynn for bringing this forward, but also thank Senator Nick Collins for his advocacy up at the State House for the City of Boston. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Counselor Flaherty. Counselor Flaherty, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Please add my name. It is imperative that our residents and other riders have access to safe and reliable public transportation, and the recent service cuts on top of yesterday's Orange Line derailment are made even more unacceptable in light of the routine criticisms about the reliability and the subpar level of service that residents experience each and every day. That was before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and will probably continue to be the same after the pandemic. Boston's local assessment at, I want to say it's over 86 million, is approximately half of the total local assessment revenues, and accounts for 4% of the MBTA's total operating budget. And yet we don't have a vote on the MBTA budget, and zero representation on the Fiscal Management and Control Board. So it's more than appropriate that the city have a seat at the table. I support this bill, appreciate the efforts of the lead sponsor, and also appreciate the efforts of Senator Nick Collins, who obviously has been paying very close attention to this issue and trying to make a difference up there. At the end of the day, there's no partnership that exists if we don't have a seat at the table helping make these decisions, particularly given the assessment that we make that contribution to. So it's not fair, it's not right, and it needs to change. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Not seeing any other discussion. A show of physical hands, please, for those who want to add their name. I assume, Councilor Flaherty, you're adding your name. Wonderful. Madam Clerk, if you could please add Councilor Flaherty, Councilor O'Malley, Councilor Sabi George, Councilor Braden, Councilor Campbell, Councilor Arroyo, Councilor Wu, Councilor Baker, Councilor Mejia, and Councilor Edwards. Did I get everyone? Please also add the chair. Councilors Flynn and Bach seek suspension of the rules and adoption of docket 0446. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Docket 0446. Councilor Arroyo.
Yes.
Councilor Arroyo, yes. Councilor Baker.
Yes.
Councilor Baker, yes. Councilor Bach.
Yes.
Councilor Bach, yes. Councilor Braden.
Yes.
Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Campbell. Councilor Campbell.
Yes.
Councilor Campbell, yes. Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Councilor Edwards, yes. Councilor Asabi George.
Yes.
Councilor Asabi George, yes. Councilor Flaherty.
Yes.
Councilor Flaherty, yes. Councilor Flynn.
Yes.
Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Janey.
Yes.
Councilor Janey, yes. Councilor Mejia.
Yeah.
Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley, yes. Councilor Wu.
Yes.
Councilor Wu, yes. Madam President, docket number 0446 has received a unanimous, has been adopted unanimously.
Thank you so much. Docket 0446 has been adopted, so we will now move on to personnel orders, beginning with docket 0447. Madam Clerk?
Docket 0447, Councilor Janey for Councilor Baker.
The chair seeks suspension of the rules and passage of docket 0447. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Thank you. Docket 0447, Councilor Arroyo.
Yes.
Councilor Arroyo, yes. Councilor Baker.
Yes.
Councilor Baker, yes. Councilor Bach.
Yes.
Councilor Bach, yes. Councilor Braden.
Yes.
Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Campbell. Councilor Campbell. Councilor Edwards.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I was on.
Councilor- Okay, Councilor Edwards and Councilor Campbell.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilor Campbell, yes. Councilor Edwards, yes. Councilor Asabi George.
Yes.
Councilor Asabi George, yes. Councilor Flaherty.
Yes.
Councilor Flaherty, yes. Councilor Flynn.
Yes.
Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Janey.
Yes.
Councilor Janey, yes. Councilor Mejia.
Yes.
Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley, yes. And Councilor Wu.
Yes.
Councilor Wu, yes. Madam President, docket number 0447 has passed unanimously.
Thank you. So we'll move on to docket 0448. Madam Clerk?
Docket 0448, Councilor Janey for Councilor Baker.
The chair seeks suspension of the rules and passage of docket 0448. Madam Clerk, if you could please call the roll?
Certainly. Docket 0448, Councilor Arroyo.
Yes.
Councilor Arroyo, yes. Councilor Baker.
Yes.
Councilor Baker, yes. Councilor Bach.
Yes.
Councilor Bach, yes. Councilor Braden.
Yes.
Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Campbell.
Yes.
Councilor Campbell, yes. Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Councilor Edwards, yes. Councilor Asabi George.
Yes.
Councilor Asabi George, yes. Councilor Flaherty.
Yes.
Councilor Flaherty, yes. Councilor Flynn.
Yes.
Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Janey.
Yes.
Councilor Janey, yes. Councilor Mejia.
Yes.
Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley, yes. And Councilor Wu.
Yes.
Councilor Wu, yes. Madam President, docket number 0448 has been passed unanimously. And the previous docket was not adopted, it was passed. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We will now move on to docket 0449.
Docket 0449, Councilor Janey for Councilor Asabi George.
The chair seeks suspension of the rules and passage of docket 0449. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Docket 0449, Councilor Arroyo.
Yes.
Councilor Arroyo, yes. Councilor Baker.
Yes.
Councilor Baker, yes. Councilor Bach.
Yes.
Councilor Bach, yes. Councilor Braden.
Yes.
Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Campbell.
Yes.
Councilor Campbell, yes. Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Councilor Edwards, yes. Councilor Asabi George.
Yes.
Councilor Asabi George, yes. Councilor Flaherty.
Yes.
Councilor Flaherty, yes. Councilor Flynn.
Yes.
Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Janey.
Yes.
Councilor Janey, yes. Councilor Mejia.
Yes.
Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley, yes. And Councilor Wu.
Yes.
Councilor Wu, yes. Madam President, docket number 0449 has passed unanimously.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. I will move on in our agenda. I don't believe we have any late files, which is great. And nothing coming out of the green sheets. Don't think so. Wonderful. So we'll continue to move on with our agenda. Next is the consent agenda, and I don't see any additions there. So the chair moves for adoption as presented of the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
Certainly. Councilor Arroyo.
Yes.
Councilor Arroyo, yes. Councilor Baker.
Yes.
Councilor Baker, yes. Councilor Bach.
Yes.
Councilor Bach, yes. Councilor Braden.
Yes.
Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Campbell.
Yes.
Councilor Campbell, yes. Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Councilor Edwards, yes. Councilor Asabi George.
Yes.
Councilor Asabi George, yes. Councilor Flaherty.
Yes.
Councilor Flaherty, yes. Councilor Flynn.
Yes.
Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Janey.
Yes.
Councilor Janey, yes. Councilor Mejia.
Yes.
Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley, yes. And Councilor Wu.
Yes.
Councilor Wu, yes. Madam President, the consent agenda has been passed unanimously.
Thank you so much. The consent agenda has been adopted, so we will move on again in our agenda. And let me just briefly say, before I call on colleagues for announcements, just want to take an opportunity. I know this is happening next week, but wanted to take an opportunity to wish Mayor Walsh all the best as it relates to this pending vote by the United States Senate for Secretary of Labor. I know we are all rooting for him. And as I transition into the office of mayor, I just want to say what an honor it has been to serve as council president, especially during these challenging times, and working with all of you to represent and serve the residents of the city of Boston. I'm very proud of the work that we've done together in the pandemic, but beyond the pandemic. And it's worth noting, I think Council Mejia has already mentioned that we're up on this week anniversary of the shutdown, of different things closing, certainly our schools, the council, businesses. And it's been really encouraging to see the way our community has rallied together to support residents. And I know we've learned a lot, and I just remain encouraged because of the work of our community, but also the work of this city council. And I really look forward to working with all of you and continuing this work together as I transition into the office of mayor. It has been truly an honor, and my heart is filled with gratitude. I also want to just take a moment to lift up the families of those who were killed last night in the horrific violence that took place in Atlanta. Many of those who were killed were women, women of Asian descent. And I know that this council and our city stands firmly in solidarity with the Asian community, with the AAPI community, and condemning any kind of anti-Asian hatred or violence. And important to state affirmatively that when one of us is attacked, that we all have to respond and stand together. And so just want to lift up those families. And as we close out our council meeting in tributes, we will certainly be thinking of the families of those who were killed. So just wanted to say that. Now, moving on for announcements, I see some hands that are raised. Councilor Mejia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. It's bittersweet. No, it's exciting that you're moving on. I'm really looking forward to your leadership on the 5th floor. And it's just been great to learn alongside you. And so really just sending you off with lots of love and encouragement, and know that that you have your squad here. So congratulations as you move on, and looking forward to President O'Malley stepping in, because he's the man of rules, and I know he's gonna teach me some new words that I'm gonna be sharing here. So really looking forward to Councilor O'Malley stepping into that role to lead us moving forward. So looking forward to all of that. Mi Dominicano, you both are honorary Dominicans. But I also just wanted to take this moment, and for some just remarks, I just wanted to just put out there that this is going to be a trigger warning, because I'm going to be discussing the recent events in Atlanta. Last night, 8 people were gunned down in Atlanta, many who were Asian American women. There are a lot of emotions going through my head, but right now, it's a battle between fear and anger. I feel fear because I know what it's like to walk down the street and go into a place of business and not know if the person walking behind me is dangerous. I feel anger because I can already see the quote unquote system jumping into high gear to make excuses for this brutal murder. We have heard that the murderer wasn't pursued by anti-Asian hatred, or that he was merely compelled by his temptations. These excuses, and I will say again, these excuses are nothing but white supremacy in action. If we truly want to learn from this experience, and if we truly want to prevent something like this from happening again, we all need to play a role in dismantling white supremacy and systems of oppression that keep women, people of color, and people of lower socioeconomic status down. And most importantly, we cannot erase or ignore anti-Asian hatred in our efforts to dismantle white supremacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. The chair recognizes Councilor O'Malley. Councilor O'Malley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm loath to wish you well too much, because the last time I did, it was a month ago, so I'd hate to trigger further delays, but suffice it to say how proud we are of you, and excited and just gratified for your continued leadership of this city. And thank you, Councilor Mejia, for those kind words, and obviously succinctly and correctly noting just the horrific murder in Atlanta yesterday, and how we keep that city and her people in our thoughts and prayers. I had a hopeful statement and then another sad statement to make. Hopeful, wanted to obviously acknowledge, as has been said, today is St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day is my favorite day of the year for obvious reasons. St. Patrick's Day in Boston is magical. And it's not just the celebrating that often occurs, but it is a day that truly unites our city. Everybody is Irish on St. Patrick's Day, particularly in Boston, and it is a day that I look forward to each and every year. It's particularly, it's noteworthy that really last St. Patrick's Day, I think for many of us, was the beginning of the impact of the pandemic, and I think many of us thought it would be a couple weeks after Thanksgiving, after St. Patrick's Day before things got back to normal. But clearly it hasn't. I will say that at our flag raising that we did today, which I know will continue when I leave this body, we often have music, we have dancing, we have food. We may have gone to the Kinsale afterwards in years past. We did bring it back today, and it was just several councilors who participated, Council President Janey, Councilor Braden, Councilor Flynn, Councilor Flaherty, Councilor Sabi George, Councilor Baker. There was no music, no speechifying, no food, simply to raise the flag. And I thought of one of my favorite quotations by one of my favorite Irish authors, Yeats, who very famously said, being Irish, he had an abiding sense of tragedy which sustained him through temporary periods of joy. This year has had a lot of tragedy, and the joy that I felt just being in close proximity with many of you this morning really gave me enormous hope for what the future holds, and that we will be able to be again in person soon. So I just wanted to remark on that. Sadly, as this meeting unfolded, I just learned that we have lost a great Bostonian, Dick Hoyt, the father of the amazing marathon team of Team Hoyt, Rick and Dick Hoyt. There's a poster over my desk which reads, "We Run Together," and it's a picture of the Hoyts. 2014, I invited them in before our body to celebrate Team Hoyt Day. They had never been celebrated before by a city council. Many of you know the story. Rick Hoyt was born with cerebral palsy, confined to a wheelchair. His dad began running in races with him, did nearly 40 marathons, 1,100 races, including the Ironman triathlon. He was as amazing a man as you will ever have met. So, Madam President, I hope that when we close today, we can also close on behalf of the entire council for Dick Hoyt. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Wu. Councilor Wu, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a couple items that are sort of discordant, so I want to start with the most joyous and exciting of them, which is to add my voice to just so much excitement and congratulations to both Mayor Walsh, but also you, Madam President, and what this moment means for our city when, again, not jinxing anything, when it soon shall come to be. I want to echo the thanks also and appreciation for the holiday that we celebrate today in Boston, and it was beautiful to be up on Dorchester Heights with Tom McGrath, South Boston Citizens Association, and some of our colleagues marking an important tradition and remembering the day that led to the birth of this country. And finally, I do want to give voice as well to what has already been brought into this space of the lives that were lost and the many community members who are feeling the heartbreak, anger, and just exhaustion of everything that has transpired, certainly over the last year and beyond. And so we have seen an acceleration of anti-Asian hatred, violence, and now murder. We are, many community members reaching out and coming together. The worst part is that none of this feels in some ways new or shocking, that this has been a call throughout the pandemic coming from our communities in the moments before this virus even was spreading in the United States, a call for help and a call for a call out of fear from our AAPI communities who are already feeling the pain, the burden, the impact of racism and xenophobia fueled by officials in this country. And we know that this is part of a long history as well of anti-Asian scapegoating, otherizing from the Chinese Exclusion Act, Japanese internment, post 9/11 with the Sikh community, all the way through. And, I sometimes I'm often struggling in these moments because growing up as a daughter of immigrants, I was very much taught to just keep your head down, just stay out of trouble, just try not to stick out. And the feeling is not new of knowing what it's like to be out in public and knowing that some of your most vivid childhood memories are from strangers feeling compelled to come up to you and make certain sounds or pull at their eyes or point out the ways in which this community is different and yet invisible all at the same time, visible, so very much sticking out and so very invisible at the same time. And so when the pandemic has brought back this exact same feeling for so many Asian Americans of being invisible, of perpetually being cast as foreigners in the country we were born in. To see it come to this in this moment is, I don't even know what to say. Besides, there's strength in community, and we need community now more than ever. So I'm so grateful for Boston. I'm so grateful for this council, our elected leaders up and down in Massachusetts who are standing with the Asian American community and are always there speaking out. And so I challenge us to, one, do more than speak, to codify this into policy, to make sure that we are guaranteeing accountability for every community, that we are changing the structures of our government so that communities will have the support, will have the opportunities and be valued in a way that breaks this cycle. And to also recognize that this is about the entire system, right? Let us not get into, I think as Councilor Mejia was saying, let us not just get into a conversation about one particular individual's mindset or mental health or motivations. This is the scourge of racism in our country that we are all part of within the system and that we all can take action to end. So I just wanted to be lifting up our community here in Boston. So many activists who have put out statements have come together, and that we have your back. And I'm grateful that so many people have our back. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Wu. The chair recognizes Councilor Campbell. Councilor Campbell, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. And it was important to me to allow my sister in service to speak first on the horrific incidents we all experienced, of course, yesterday. And to share with her personally, of course, that I stand with her and will continue to stand with her, and to do the really hard and sometimes uncomfortable work to eradicate the systems that continue to perpetuate racism, to perpetuate the othering, and to also create a sense that folks in communities of color are aligned against one another, right? There's ways in which that we have to challenge that every single day, to say that racism affects all communities of color, and frankly affects all of us. And so I stand in solidarity with my sister in service, along with all of the incredible elected leaders and community leaders. There are so many in my district currently that have been doing the work for a really long time on ensuring that those in the Asian community are lifted up when we were talking about racism, when we were talking about inequities in every system, including in education, including in COVID infection rates, including in COVID deaths, and that we are centering those communities as well. So I just wanted to say that. The two other things I wanted to say as well is, one, congratulations to you, Madam President, on your soon new role and responsibility. And of course, absolutely look forward to supporting you and continuing to support you in the work that is ahead, you, your team as well, and those who you will be surrounding yourself with. So I wanted to name that, and also to congratulate Mayor Walsh on what I'm sure will be a successful vote, and to thank him for his leadership and his continued leadership on the behalf of the city of Boston and of course our country in the new role that he will take on. So thank you. And then lastly, wanted to provide all of my colleagues with an update on the 17F request that we sent to the police department. So just as a reminder, on Tuesday, March 2nd, I filed a 17F with questions about the police department's investigation into officers who may have been involved in the Capitol insurrection on January 6, 2021. All of you, of course, voted in favor of this and wanted this information as well. On Monday, we received a response to that 17F. I think it came to me, not the entire council. So we'll make sure that all of you have a copy of that. But essentially, it was the department declining to provide any information whatsoever, citing an ongoing investigation. And I repeatedly said, and I think all of you will agree, that we shouldn't have to subpoena our department for information on whether or not an investigation is actually taking place, particularly an investigation into potential criminal activity by one of our officers or officers. and that this response that we've received to the 17F is wholly insufficient. We've been more transparent in other investigations, including letting the public know at the very least if an officer or officers are being investigated, if they're still actively on the force, and whether or not they're on paid or unpaid leave. And I think the same is important that we do. I think it's important that we do the same with respect to this investigation, which of course involves white supremacy and of course connects to the horrific events that we all experienced yesterday. All of this is entangled with this idea of white supremacy and racism. This council, along with the administration, the mayor, and the task force that he put together, passed historic legislation. We passed the legislation to set up the Office of Police Accountability and Transparency. And in the spirit of that legislation, which called for transparency, accountability, and independence, I was hoping and would think that the department would not only want to release information about the investigation, but would be aligned and want to align with those OPAT principles. I also will add, it shouldn't take this long. It's been over 2 months, and I find it hard to believe that our department can't figure out if an officer or two participated in that insurrection, and if so, of course, to take any and all necessary disciplinary action in response. And so I'm looking forward to engaging and continuing to engage the department and of course the administration on getting more answers, because folks in the community do continue to ask. It does come up in conversations and meetings with residents all the time. And now when we see things that happened last night, it brings it back up, of course, and causes, and I think triggers pain as well. So thank you all, of course, for your willingness to be pushing for this information as well. And I think if the department is unwilling to be transparent with respect to this case, given the seriousness and the magnitude of it, how can the public then expect it to be transparent when it comes to other issues? I'll continue to push for greater transparency and accountability. And of course, we'll keep all of you posted and abreast on what's going on. So thank you, Madam President. And thank you again to my council colleagues.
Thank you so much, Councillor Campbell. The chair recognizes Councillor Flynn. Councillor Flynn, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President Janey. And just wanted to speak briefly. Well, first, I want to wish two people a happy birthday today. One is Ellen Fritsch, our good friend Ellen Fritsch from the clerk's office. So we want to say thank you to Ellen and wish her a happy birthday, March 17th. And also my sister, Katie Flynn DeGoulis. I want to wish my sister Katie a happy birthday today as well. Also want to thank Mayor Walsh for his tremendous leadership, and also the mayor's mother as well, Mrs. Walsh, who has provided excellent leadership in our city and is a great woman, a woman came from Ireland. So we celebrate her today as well in the Walsh family. I was thinking of that as we raised the Irish flag today out in front on Congress Street, the proud immigrant roots of Boston, but also our respect and dignity for all immigrants, Irish or not Irish. And just wanted to kind of say briefly to my colleague and friend, Councilor Wu, I think she said it perfectly about the anti-Asian violence happening in our city and country, and it's having a tremendous impact. It's something I've talked about and focused on almost every day for the last year of the pandemic. We called for the first COVID-19 public hearing, maybe in the country, at the Josiah Quincy School a year ago. I think it was January 30th, 2020. And there was a young high school student from Boston Latin, an Asian student, and she spoke during this community forum I held, and Marty Martinez was there and Dr. Lowe. But this young student from Boston Latin was telling us that when she got on the MBTA train, most of the people would leave the train once she got on, because they associated her with the COVID-19 virus. And, you know, when I heard that, I knew that this discrimination was only going to increase and only going to become more prevalent here in our city, but here in our country. And just two things I wanted to highlight. You know, we have to make sure we recognize what is happening, but also to make changes. And two brief changes I would like to mention. The City of Boston Human Rights Commission is a critical part of investigating, documenting incidents of violence, hate crimes against immigrants or communities of color that happen in our city. During the budget process, I would like to see about having a director of special investigations that that reviews, investigates incidents of violence against immigrants. But also, many people know that the Boston Police Community Disorders Union at one time was an effective part of the Boston Police, and they investigated hate crimes across the city. It was under Commissioner Mickey Roach, who was the lieutenant on the Community Disorders Union. But I think there's more we can do as a city to investigate violence against immigrants, hold people accountable, be aggressive in prosecution, but also educating residents about painful words that they say or that they pass along or they write in emails or in social media. But that hate that people pass along has a devastating impact, and it increases other people, makes them have more courage to lash out against the Asian community. So like Councilor Wu said, and all my colleagues have said, we stand together as a city in supporting our Asian community and these victims from last night. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you so much, Councilor Flynn. The chair recognizes Councilor Edwards. Councilor Edwards, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to make sure if I was going to prolong the meeting, I would have a comment at the end. I'm going to echo, I don't need to repeat all of the accolades and the excitement of this moment for both yourself and also for Mayor Walsh as well. I think what is before you is greatness, and I know that you will rise to the occasion, and so will Mayor Walsh. So I wanted to echo the accolades from my colleagues. I also wanted to I don't need to repeat what Councilor Wu said. This is a space for her to lead and also to express a unique pain that society has not rectified and not really dealt with, honestly, with Asian Americans in this community. I want to answer some of the questions people have asked, though. What can they do now? And I wanted to highlight actually a lot of the warriors who are doing the work and been doing the work. And I wanted to just uplift them and basically say there are several organizations that have been fighting against anti-Asian racism for years. And I've not only been able to work with them as a legal services attorney, been able to get clients from them, but also they are there and they need your support now more than ever. So I'm going to go ahead and list some of them. That includes CPA, the Chinese Progressive Association. Look them up. I would say support them as much as you can. Honestly, they have been one of the OGs in this space for a long time and making sure that Asian Americans, especially in Boston, have a voice. I want to also uplift the Asian Task Force Against Domestic Violence. That is another wonderful nonprofit in Boston that works across the Asian diaspora, representing a lot of women who work in nail salons, who work in a lot of the parlors. And actually, I have to pick up clients against anti-human trafficking from ATAS. I want to highlight Matahari, another organization that's multiracial, women-led, women worker centers, and making sure that, again, women are protected regardless of their immigration status, regardless of where they're from. And the Asian Outreach Unit in GBLS, I want to acknowledge their good work. And I have a regular fundraiser. I think it's for Mr. Dow. And I've gone to it many times to make sure that in his name, not for him, to make sure that we are highlighting that work. I want to also recognize the Asian American Resource Workshop, the Asian American Women's Political Alliance, and and also just individually a colleague of mine who is now in a wonderful leadership position, who is working to protect workers every day at the Attorney General's office, Cindy Mark. I bring up these names and bring them here because in our cry for what we need to do as a community, we also need to uplift those who are in the trenches doing the work for decades, and to support these organizations and stand by them. Every single one of us as counselors have been touched and contacted by them in some way, shape, or form. But I just wanted to highlight that, say this is the time to rally around those organizations and stand with them. So I know I missed somebody, and please, whoever that organization is, I apologize. I just thought of some of the organizations I've been blessed to work with and learn from. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. The chair recognizes Councillor Flaherty. Councillor Flaherty.
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to give a shout out to my sister Peggy. Very happy birthday to her today. She's a St. Patrick's Day baby. And also a shout out this morning over at Florian Hall. I know a number of our colleagues were stopping over there. The South Boston Citizens Association, in partnership with the Butler family, in partnership with the St. Monica's Food Pantry, lots of volunteers. They plan on serving between 600 and 700 seniors today at corned beef and cabbage dinner. So great team effort over there. And obviously the great work that the people do down at St. Monica's Parish, making sure that they're getting meals to our most vulnerable residents, our seniors, particularly those that are living in public housing throughout all of the holidays. It just doesn't begin and end with St. Patrick's Day. They do Thanksgiving, they do Christmas, they do Easter, they do Mother's Day. So great work from the folks that are over there today, working really hard over at Florian Hall. So again, happy St. Patrick's Day. And what often gets lost in St. Patrick's Day is Evacuation Day, when the British occupied the city of Boston. And so today's a very special day, which led to the birth of our country. And as we say, without St. Patrick's Day and Evacuation Day, there would not have been July 4th. So happy, healthy, and safe St. Patrick's Day from the Flaherty family to all of you and your families. And best of luck, Madam President.
Thank you so much. The chair recognizes Councillor Braden. Councillor Braden, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I also want to offer my congratulations on your forthcoming ascent to be mayor of our wonderful city, Boston, and wish my best to Mayor Walsh as he takes on Secretary of Labour, all being well next week. I just want to express my solidarity with the Asian community, Asian American community here in Boston and across the country. When I heard the news last night, it was gut-wrenching. I'm all too familiar with the impacts of violence that's motivated by hate from where I come from, and I just thought the notion that a stranger would walk in and mow down and kill innocent people without any reason other than just hate and malice, racial hatred, is heartbreaking. And I just want to let my Asian American colleagues and residents of Boston that I will stand in solidarity and do anything I can to help. You know, as someone said, none of us is safe until we're all safe. And this is a scourge. This is a scourge on our nation and on our city, and we have to do so much better. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councillor Braden. At this time, we will move on in our agenda and close out our meeting as we always do with memorials. Obviously, we will lift up the families of those who were murdered brutally in Atlanta. And we will also adjourn our meeting in memory of the following individuals: from Councillor Baker, Julia Folon; for Councillor Campbell, William Brown; for Councillor Edwards, Dolores Ann Marola; for the chair, Damian Brown and Frederick Brewer; and on behalf of the entire City Council, Dick Hoyt and the marvelous Marvin Hagler. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. The chair moves that when the council adjourns today, it does so in memory of the aforementioned individuals We are scheduled to meet again remotely Wednesday, March 24th at 12 noon. At this time, all in favor of adjournment, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Nays, no
Aye.
nays. The ayes have it. The council meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Congratulations, Madam President.